Hey there's conservation biologists. Today's podcast is on the Amazon rainforest and more importantly, conserving the Amazon rainforest. Now, a little bit of background on the Amazon rainforest. It is located in South America and about 60% of it is in Brazil. The Amazon rainforest is about 4,000 miles in length. It's very vast. The Amazon rainforest gets about 100 inches of rain per year. It's also home to the second largest river in the world, the Amazon River. Now, the first largest river in the world is the Nile River. Temperature in the Amazon rainforest doesn't peak above 93 degrees and doesn't drop below 68 degrees, meaning that life is pretty standard temperature. Nothing too extreme like negative whatever it is in Antarctica. Now, there are so many trees in the Amazon rainforest that actually produces 20% of the world's oxygen, which means that this is a very critical rainforest to keep from being cut down. Now, one of the ways that scientists can measure how healthy an ecosystem is based upon the top level consumer, because the top level consumer has to eat lower level things. So the more top level consumers and the higher up they are, it means how healthy an ecosystem is. So we're going to be looking at the jaguar, and the jaguar is actually a quaternary consumer because it eats toucans, which eats lizards, which eat insects, which eat fruit, and which means that the ecosystem is pretty healthy. And the reason this is because 100% of the energy is produced from producers, and about 10% of the energy continues on to the primary consumers of insects. Now, about 1% of that continues on to lizards, and about 0.1% of that continues on to toucans, which means that 0.01% of that is in jaguars. And if there are a lot of jaguars, that means that there's an enormous amount of producers. Oh, and by the way, that's called the 10% rule. Now, even though the Amazon rainforest is a pretty healthy ecosystem, there are a lot of things facing it that are causing it to get its trees lost and be deforested. The 5 ways that's being deforested are agriculture, as people need more land for farming. They will cut down trees so that they can use the land. And as we saw in the third slide, this is actually very good land for farming because it gets 100 inches of rain per year. Another way that deforestation is caused is because of logging. Logging is where people will cut down trees to use the wood in things like houses and other things that require wood. Another is development. As human population expands, people need more space for roads and houses, and so they'll cut into the forest for that. The second to last one is pollution. If you release chemicals and waste into the environment, it can hurt the trees because they'll consume it and it'll cause the trees to die. And the last one is mining of oil and coal. Trees are cleared to make the mining easier because you need open space for things like roads and equipment. Some of the effects of deforestation are reduced rainfall, loss of habitat, because without trees there's no place for some of the animals to live. Greenhouse gas pollution, because you have to get rid of some of the trees in some way, and burning is one of them. And also there is less reduction of carbon dioxide because the trees are no longer living. And the last one, this one's kind of complicated. There's a thing called soil erosion, and what will happen is when it rains, water will move the soil around, and it'll push large amounts of soil mainly towards river and runoff areas. And when there's trees, the tree roots will hold the soil in place, but if the trees are gone, the soil will just flow down the river and erode every place. Now, how can you stop deforestation? Now, there are a couple of ways. On a small scale, you can exercise your influence. You can choose what you want to buy and what not to buy. Because if there's a company that deforests large forests and doesn't replant, then you don't have to buy the product. You can choose an alternate supplier of wood or whatever you're buying, and that does things like replant trees. Another thing that you can do is buy recycled wood, and there's a significant difference between recycled wood and regular wood. Recycled wood is made up of little chips and that you can see in the wood, and it's made by pressing the little chips together. And also, this was said in the last slide, but the reason that companies are cutting down trees is ultimately to make a profit on something. It doesn't really matter what the product is, they're looking to make a profit. And if you don't buy that product, then they don't make a profit. And if they don't make a profit, they aren't going to cut down more trees to make the product that they aren't making a profit on. Now, on a larger scale, you can take political action. You can support bans on clear cutting. Now, clear cutting is where you'll go through and you'll just clear out all the trees in an area. It's a form of over-exploitation. It removes massive chunks of a habitat. We can prevent companies from cutting down cutting down trees and clear cutting in areas, and this allows cut trees to rebound easier and reduces damage to the rainforest significantly. So placing a ban on clear cutting will take work. The government would have to send an ambassador to the countries with the Amazon rainforest in them and negotiate the laws and encourage the ban on clear cutting. And also, if we go back to the map, it's in a lot of countries, so that's a lot of work. So it would be a lot of work, but we could work on banning clear cutting in countries that have the Amazon rainforest. Mostly Brazil, because 60% of it's in Brazil. This is the end of the podcast. Remember to spread awareness to the destruction of the Amazon rainforest and other rainforests around the world. See you guys. And also, in case you're Mr. Ori, here are the bibliography.